Tuesday.
Hello?
Can you hear us? Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
And you can tell us if you can.
Yeah, just
Louder.
throw something at us.
So obviously you've all appeared in various Nightmare on Elm Streets, one of the biggest horror franchises out there now, even though it's been going for so long. How does it feel to be a part of that, even now it's still so big? How does that feel?
Well, it feels good. And it feels, I don't know, it's just really amazing to me how devoted the fans are. I think it's just, this is the only time I've ever seen fans like this. And I don't know, I think it just feels really good to be a part of something that's maybe, you know, helped somebody through something or changed their lives for some reason. When they say that, I'm always really surprised, and it feels really good to be a part of it.
Yeah, I concur with Tuesday, absolutely. I think it's a surprise to all of us, the impact over the vast, now you can say vast number of years that these films have been around, the continued impact on fans and families and children and generations. It's really wild. So yeah, it's we're very grateful and just personally super surprised.
For me, it's I always think I come at it from like a little bit different way. I love all of you guys, and I love doing this. And we talk about it all the time. It's like to be in a position of sitting behind a table and having somebody give you money to sign your name and to tell you that they love you, or is pretty humbling. I mean, if you don't get a jolt out of that, you should get a new job. Because it's. But I like it because of us too, because we're like in this very small club, and the Elm Street Kids, and that's what we are. I mean, we are a part of something that built a historic company. I mean, New Light Cinema was built on our shoulders, on the backs of us. So, and we're all, after all these years, we're all friends. We've become friends. We've watched each other grow up, have children, get married, just go through life, and here we are. So I think it's wonderful. I think it's really fun.
And how did you actually get the parts to begin with, each of you? Was it sort of just, did you stumble upon the parts, or was it, how did it come about for each of you?
I was in between my freshman and sophomore year in college. I had recently signed with an agent, but was planning on going to college. And then when I returned home in the summer, my agent said, well, I'm submitting you for this sequel to A Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm sure you've seen it. And I said, no, I haven't seen it. She's like, okay. Well, it was successful. This is part 2. It would be great for you to go for it. So I had no expectation, I had no preconception of the story. I didn't know who Freddy Krueger was. And I auditioned like all the other actresses, and I was called back at least a second and third time, and then the final time was with Mark. I read with Mark, and the director Jack Schulter was there, and he brought the DP, and DP is the director of photography or cinematography, and kind of was getting a good feeling by then, but you still never know. And then many years later, I learned that Mark was actually left with kind of the final decision. It was up to him. It was between me and I think one or two of them.
There were 3 girls. There was a blonde, a brunette, and a redhead. And so I could do things, And actually, it was left up to Robert Russell. And funny, the first person, but on our Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like a fun fact that most people don't know, is the first person that was hired for Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was Robert Russell. And the last person that was hired for Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was Robert Danyl. So, yes, because he wasn't a part of the second one. And so it's sort of the order switched there. It's really funny. But they hired Robert first. And the way I got the part is I screen tested to play Glenn in the first Nightmare on Elm Street. So it was between Johnny Depp and I. And then actually Wes's daughter chose Johnny. And then they brought me in right at the end. Actually, it turned out that they had thrown my picture in the trash 3 or 4 times. And now Benson was the casting director, and she kept throwing my picture in the trash. And a guy named Michael Murphy kept pointing it out. He was the line producer. And I had done a movie called Come Back in 5 and Die, Jimmy Dean, which is a Robert Altman movie. And he loved that movie, and he kept pointing my picture out and saying, "This is your boy." And that's how I did it. So.
Let's see. I got an appointment to go in. My agent called me and said, A Nightmare on Elm Street is doing another film and part 4, and they want you to come in, but it's going to be tricky because you're going to be replacing Patricia Arquette because she was in 3, and but we want you to come in and they think you're right for it. So I went in, and then I read for Annette Benson, who was the casting director, and I guess she liked it, and then she called me back a second time, and this time it was for the director, and Rennie Harlan and I worked on it a little bit, and he said, I want you to go home and watch 3 and just kind of get an idea of what she is like and or whatever. But whatever you do, make it your own. So I said, oh, okay, what's that mean? Okay. So I did. I watched it, and I kind of got some of the nuances. I mean, I kind of was the way she looked and different things. But then I decided to just do it myself. And when I got the part, Rennie told me I got the part at the last audition, and I was so excited. I ran down the front stairs of New Line, and I tripped, and I rolled over about 10 stairs. And I busted my knee.
Oh my gosh.
And somebody was at the end helping me up, and I was laughing hysterically, and they were like, "What is wrong with you?" I go, "I just got part of my Elm Street."
So excited.
They were like, "You did?" I go, "Yeah." They were celebrating my horror.
Let's go to the hospital.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kim, you played Lisa in the second one, which I just said to Mark today. I actually watched again the other day just to try and catch myself up with all the films. One thing I wanted to ask was what happened to your character, because she doesn't actually die at the end of the film, it just she disappears. Just wondered, do you know yourself what the story behind that is?
Well, somebody wrote a sequel. No,
I guess I did.
That was sort of left to the imagination. There was nothing obviously scripted anywhere that says what happens to Lisa. I would like to think that Lisa and Lisa will come back.
And would you do that if they asked you to do another one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that would be something to look forward to, definitely. And I was going to ask about your character. What was with the press-ups? Press-ups? Your punishment, every time you were being punished with...
The gym coach?
Yeah.
No, but he was a pedophile. He was he was the one good kill in the whole thing, I do a lot of things for anti-bullying and all that kind of stuff. Some of you might know that. It's a real mission for me. And because of Nightmare on Elm Street, actually, because of our Nightmare on Elm Street. So I do a lot of stuff with the Trevor Project and anti-suicide stuff. Specifically for gay kids more than not. And so if you're watching that film, the gym coach, he picks me up in a gay bar and he takes me back to the gym and makes me take my clothes off and run around. And so I think he deserves to die because I was a teenager. I was a kid. They say that all the time about Freddy Krueger, being the way he's described originally. But we're all teenagers. He is what he is. You know what I mean? It's you can candy coat it in a lot of different ways, but we're all teenagers in this movie. So, and the reason Kim, I actually just finished a documentary and we've been working on it for 3 or 4 years. And the real reason that our characters are the way that they are, because we're the nebulous. Nobody knows what happened to Jesse and Lisa. And that's because of Wes Craven. And actually, she was supposed to die in the second. But then at the end, they wrote her back to life, thinking that they might bring her back in the third. Because Wes was not into the boys, into the girls. He didn't like the Jesse character at all. And it's contractually in the contracts from NECA and all that kind of stuff that Jesse will never be seen again. Like, that's why you don't have a Jesse doll. That's why it's like Jesse was Wes skipped from 1 to 3 and pretended like we didn't exist. But he wanted to find the girl, so she became the final girl. Because really what should have happened is when she kisses me, then she gets killed. And I would be left alive and she would be dead. So, but we're out there nebulously floating around someplace in the universe, so you come and get us. We'll save it.
And that brings me on to the second one, it better than the first one. Why do you think that is? Apparently the second instalment of Nightmare on Elm Street did better than the first one, yeah.
Oh, yes, oh, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's like, it goes with the sequel. Wes Craven did not want to have her. I mean, like, he didn't foresee any, there would be, if it had been left up to Wes, there would have been no series of Nightmare on Elm Street. He wanted to do one and be finished with it, and that was it. And, but Bob Shea had sold, to make the movie, he had sold the video rights. So he had made Nightmare on Elm Street and came away with no money. So that's why Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was made, and it was made really fast. I know we were shooting on July 4th in her pool in Pasadena, and the movie opened on Halloween. And so it was shot and cut in that amount of time. So, and that's the speed of light, because we opened on October 31st, and we broke every box office record in the world. I think our weekend was $30 million, so if you prorate it up to right now, it's like a $400 million weekend. So it was a big deal. We were like a huge, and we got really, actually, you can come and see the press kits. We got wonderful reviews from the New York Times, from the London Times, the Herald, everything were great reviews. And it wasn't until later that people began to not like it.
And what was your favourite scene each of you to play? Start with you, Kim.
Somebody asked me that earlier today, and there are several, they're so unique and specific. But I feel like the one that jumps out for me on so many levels is the finale, the scene on the catwalk where Lisa takes charge and confronts Freddie and ultimately kisses Freddie with the kisses, just symbolic of a choice to overcome her fear, take charge, and empower herself to get her love back. And that was it was an empowering moment. I was terrified of it. Absolutely terrified of it. And Lisa was terrified. So we were together, and it worked, and Robert was very gracious, very professional, very scary. So everything just kind of lined up. So it was a really powerful scene.
And that was a huge set too. I mean, the boiler room, I mean, the factory was, I mean, it was 10 times bigger than this room, higher, and it was massive. And it was in the middle of nowhere. We stayed in this motel that had a dirty little pool. And, you know, you had drug dogs running around, you know, little tiny rats, you know. Isn't that the saddest little scene when that locker comes open and we jump like this? It's a little tiny mouse. It's like, please, could you make me any more of a wuss? She jumps in front of me so the mouse doesn't get me. So, but the old guy that did our tricks, is basically what we would call him back then. He was his last film, and he was like, had been from like the 1920s, basically. So like he was responsible for the bird, and the little rat, you know, and the poor drug dogs who are like, you know, falling over. But they turn out to be kind of fun things. I mean, you like to look at the bird, you know, and it's so ridiculous. I love the word retarded. I'm sorry. Like since I was in the 4th grade, I love that word. Now you can't say it anymore. So, but I don't mean it in a bad way. But it's just so dumb, you know what I mean? But it's kind of funny. I mean, like 10 feathers falling out of after the rat, you know. But for me, my favorite scene was and I'll go like really out on a limb because I always speak my mind. I think it's one of the best scenes in the entire series of Nightmare on Elm Street is Grady's death. The transformation into where Grady gets killed and then Freddy laughs at me in the mirror. That's like a 10-minute suite, and it took a really long time to shoot. And I think it's beautiful, and I think it's really scary because, you know, it's such a simple way to die. You know, and you can imagine like being a kid in a room and like something goes wrong, you know, because something went wrong. Like in Jesse's mind, something went wrong. Like there we were in the bedroom together, and you can, you know, do all those, cross all those T's and dot those I's if you want to. But something went wrong, you know, like we were in the bedroom, something went wrong, and he ended up dead, you know. And I thought I did it. So, and you can see how you could like stab somebody or something, and it's just so simple, you know. And that's what makes it really scary. And I think his parents on the other side, you know. And the fact that there's no CGI in it is really great, you know, because that was all the puppets and so on and so forth. So I'm really proud of it. I think it holds up today. I think it's a good scene, you know, in a movie. And I'm really proud of it. How about you?
I like that scene too.
Oh, thank you.
A lot. Gosh, you know, on a lot of the scenes in Nightmare 4, I was like always in trouble. Like the one where I'm like pushed under at the beach, when I was pushed under by Freddie. My eyes got full of sand. I couldn't see. I mean, it was like I had to go to the doctor. Then there was another thing on the catwalk thing. There was a scene where I was supposed to do these cartwheels down the catwalk, and of course the little thing broke. It was supposed to hold me up, and then I fell down. And I don't know. I think my favorite scene was the one where, I don't know if you remember, but the one where I'm crawling on the ceiling across, and I do a little jump out the window. Does anyone know that little thing? Well, I'm so happy because I did that myself. I just love that part. So I think that's my favorite scene because it was the first thing I'd really done like that ever, you know, by myself. So it's fun.
They're really challenging. Do we look good up there? I didn't realize we're like behind ourselves. We're like on TV. I love that. We're famous. Okay. I was like, oh, wow, where's that? That's us. Sorry. The lighting here.
Were there any moments when you were filming, I mean obviously you know Robert England, he was dressed up, but was there any point when you were filming that he may have sort of approached you in the scene where it did actually scare you? Because he did look quite gross, and you know you were teenagers at the time, so you were still quite young. Was there any point where you actually felt spooked?
Several times, really. I mean, again, I have to go back to, well, two scenes. I first want to go back to the scene that I mentioned just a bit ago. He was absolutely terrifying in those moments because he was toying with, I mean, that's what Freddie does. He toys with his prey, and he was very, very good at that. So that was very terrifying. But also when we had to chase through the house, through my house, through Lisa's house, and he was, you know, threatening me at the bar counter, the kitchen counter. That was very scary. I was scared. Lisa was terrified, but determined, but very terrifying. Yeah, absolutely.
What about yourself, Mark?
Oh, being afraid of him?
Or just being jumpy. Was there any scenes where you may have jumped or been a bit spooked, not expecting it?
Yeah, well, you know, actually, you know, all different people do things. Like, being an actor is a very, like, personal thing. And we all do it really differently. Like, some people might, you know, like, take an hour to prepare and, like, build themselves up to what they're going to do and all that kind of stuff. And I do a lot of work before I ever get there. And then by the time I get there, it's like I smoked at the time. She's like, this is my innocent, like sweetest person. She's like been my girlfriend for like 35 years, right? So, but at the time I didn't know she was so sweet. We'd sit in this car, and I'm sure she was so offended. I'm like smoking my cigarettes on James Dean. And she was like sitting there talking to me, and I'm like, you know, smoking. And I didn't even think anything about it, you know, at that time. But no, but I literally could do that. I mean, I was that kind of actor. It's like when I was on Broadway, I'd do the same thing. I'd be like drinking a Coke, smoking a cigarette, jabbering away, and then just walk on stage and do it. You know, and then like when it's over for me. I don't like have to like melt down and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I have those tricks inside of myself. And so for me, no, actually. I mean, I knew Robert And a lot of our stuff is really, really technical. So, you know, like when we were doing the scene where you've got the body, I've got the brains, where he's pulling his head off, and you know, those blades are in my eyes, you know, and I didn't really have time to be afraid because they were actually shooting into the blade, the reflection of my eye. So those blades were polished so high that they were like a mirror, and it was in my eye. So, so we had to like really worry about those kind of things. And my big things when Freddie was around were technically pretty challenging, like with puppets and, you know, the transformation, all that kind of stuff. That was a lot of work. So, and we were tired, you know, like by the time, because Kim and I, and, you know, basically, we're the whole movie. So, I mean, Robert's in 12 minutes of Nightmare on Elm Street too. So, you know, Freddie, you feel him all the time, but he's only in the movie for 12 minutes. The rest of the movie is us. So we were exhausted because we were working really long days and fast and shooting a lot. And so he really, the exhaustion was the thing that I remember the most. I was just, you know, I was young and I could fall asleep like that. So I remember just like sleeping and dragging me out and throwing me in front of a camera. You know, that was it. But I love it. I love acting. So, and Robert's, you know, a ham. You know, he's a big ham. And I talk a lot, but he never shuts up. And it's like, never. So, you know, so there's a lot of that camaraderie and, you know, just having fun. And, you know, we had a wonderful time. I mean, all the stuff that gets talked about, you know, with our movies especially, but the overriding thing is we all really like each other. You know, I love Marshall, I love Robert Rustler, and Clue is amazing. Hope Lang was my mom. I mean, Mrs. Muir, the ghost in Mrs. Muir, my mom. And she had just finished shooting Blue Velvet. So, you know, it was pretty magical. It was a really cool thing.
Yeah, really good cast actually, that one.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah. I think for me, I kind of feel like you. When I was working with Robert, I wasn't afraid either. It was more technical and kind of what we had to do and move in the scene. I mean, it was the scene where I confront him in the boiler room and we finally had that, like, you know, one-on-one with each other and he throws me in the furnace. That was exciting because it was kind of neat to finally be face-to-face with him. It just kind of like really giving it to him.
Duking it out, yeah.
Yeah, and that was really cool. But I don't think he ever really scared me. I don't think there was, like he said, there was just not really time for it. It was just about technical stuff. And he was so sweet anyway, so it was kind of funny to, you know, I don't know.
Did you, when you were on set, did you get to keep any of the props or costumes? Or did you take any of the props or costumes?
Yeah, I kept some. Yeah, I kept my shoes and this white dress, the one that I wore in the beginning of the movie. That one. Yeah.
Well, I actually have a good story about that because, like, I was going to say this before, and I'll tag this in for you guys because it's really fun. The one thing that I wish for all of you is that you could star in a movie once because it's the best. It's so much fun. It's everything that you think it would be. It is that. It's like you get treated like a king. You know, they put you in a trailer, they feed you, they give you all these clothes. Like, I spent more money on my clothes than the rest of the cast, all combined. God, I don't know why, but I did. I got the best clothes in the world.